אוקיי, שלום רוואן. אז כן, אחרי שדיברנו היום, actually, I think you're in the English group, so I'm gonna do this recording in English. So I received your email with your picture of what you want to build. I remember we took the sizes of the bobbins using a caliber, and so they are fairly accurate. And then this is your button, and this is the tool. Let's start with the tool, and then I will do the button since it's a fairly simple shape to do. And there is a function to multiply, to pattern the shape. It's called circular patterns that we can use. Just checking that we're recording, yes. Okay, so if we want to build something like that, we're gonna first build the stand using revolve, and then we're gonna build this piece above it. Also using a mix of revolve and cut. So let's start. SolidWorks, open a new part. Okay. Okay, I start from the front plane, sketch, open a new sketch. The first thing I want to do is to place an axis since we are using the revolve function. There we go. And now we're going to start to sketch the base. So see that your shape from the side is going to look like half, like we're going to sketch this piece. Yes, like this and going to the side. So you're gonna have to adjust the size according to what you want to build, but we're gonna be good. So here we can close the top. I'm going down and the base. Now that we have this, I can use fillet to try to get closer to the design you want to do. Okay, we have one curve here. Yes. So this curve is gonna help us that the top part don't fall to the bottom, so it's gonna spin. And if you want, you can make another fillet on the top, like this. Now let's put, using smart dimension, what is the total height of the product. For example, 15 centimeter. Double click, 150. Okay, I see, I just put 10 too much. 150. Okay. And now I want to place the radius. Let's put 75. So we're gonna have a 15 centimeter high product for a 15 centimeter width product after we finish the function. Here you can make the base a bit wider if you want. It's gonna make it uh, more stable. We just don't want it to make it too big so it doesn't fit into a print, one of the print machines. So 15 centimeter high, no problem. 15 centimeter diameter, no problem. Now that I have the base, it's just a line. I want to give it thickness. So I'm taking the size. I click on one line. I look for offset. And here I will tell him that this is 3 millimeter cap end and lines. Why? Because this way is duplicating my line and is closing the sketch automatically by using this function called cap ends. And here you can see that we are gonna sketch the thickness of the plastic we want to spin around the axis. Now that I finish my sketch, I just check that I have only sketch on one side of the axis. Nothing should be on the other side. That's what we learned during the lesson. Features, revolve. And that's it, I have the base. Approved. So I finish with the first base. You can change the proportion accordingly to what you want to design. If you feel that the center part is a bit too thick, right click, edit sketch, and then we can change. Because you can see that we put the size for the total width, we put the size for the height, but we didn't put the size for the center pin. So click, click, up, and 12 millimeter would be more than enough. 14 is also good. Is sure. And then we have something a bit more balanced. So we finish with the first part. Now let's move to the second part. So I'm asking to look from the front. I also want to open a new sketch, a sketch and sketch. And now I can sketch with directly on this. I'm just gonna have to be careful not to glue the two pieces of plastic together. So I'm gonna ask to, on the left side, I want to see my original sketch, and I will do convert. This way I don't have to sketch it again. What I want to keep is, I don't want to keep the internal line. So this I can throw. This I can push up. It's going to become the second the line of the second part. And this I don't want. This I don't want. This I don't want. And this. So now if I go back to look at your shape, we have a box that sits on it. So we can do that. The inside of the box could be straight until here, or could have the same shape. This is up to us. It's really a design decision. It's just because we already sketched that piece, we can continue to use the same piece. Just here, we're gonna use a bit of plastic engineering to learn that we can't use exactly the same line. If not, the pieces, they would not spin. They will be stuck. What we want them to spin around each other. But so we need to put a tolerance between the two lines, meaning we have to add a little space between them. So what I'm gonna do, even that line we can delete, it doesn't matter. We can sketch it again. So first I'm gonna put an axis using curve for construction, or what's called the center line. Here. Now that I did that, I can click on this line, offset. I'm gonna ask offset of 1 millimeter. And that's it. So now you can see that I just pushed it out. If I use cap end, again, it's gonna close it for me. So yes, I want to activate cap end lines. Actually not yet, because if I do that, it's gonna glue it to my original line, and I don't want this. So right now I'm gonna say, no, I don't want cap end, and I'm gonna activate base geometry. This way, you see what it does? It makes the original line becomes a line for construction. And then you can see that this became a line for construction, and this became the line I want to use for my sketch. Okay, yeah. So now that we have the line that is 1 millimeter away from this, I have a little space between the two pieces of plastic. This way they're gonna spin on the top of each other. I'm gonna click on that line, offset. This time I want 3 millimeter. And yes, this time I want to do cap end lines. And I want to remove base geometry. This way it's gonna make me the close shape that I want for the remove. You can see it's perfectly aligned with our original shape. Yes, so that's good. Now we need to change it a little bit, because we want to have shape being like this. So we can do it in 2 steps, meaning that I do this shape and then I do another revolve on the top, or I can simply modify the sketch to make it work. So for example, I can continue from here. I go back up and I go back down. Now that I've done this, I can either delete some shapes or make it hollow. Here, what I advise you to do is to click on this line that we just did, delete, and click on this line here, delete, and actually, you know what? Let's make it hollow so it's gonna use less plastic. So I'm just gonna ask what is the total height of my product. So how much do I have between that line and that line? So that's how much I'm adding on the top of the box, say 1 centimeter. And the rest of the sizes is getting from the sketch. So what I want to do here, I want to take that line and that line. And yes, let's do that. Offset 3 millimeter. In that case, I don't want selecting change. I'm removing it. I don't want cap end. I just want the 2 lines. I can play with the reverse just to be sure that I'm duplicating in the correct direction, and save. Now that I have this, I can remove this one, delete. I'm gonna use extend entities until here, trim entities to clean. So this way I'm gonna have a strong top, hollow interior, And here we're gonna add the pins to carry the bobbins. And here we need to complete that line that I deleted by mistake before. So I'm just sketching it again, and that's it. We can see that with the shaded sketch contour, we have the two areas inside each other, features and revolve. He's asking me where is the axis. I click on the center line, and here I say don't merge, just to be sure I'm removing this, and approve. So now what do I have? Here you can see I have the inside pin and the outside box. Okay, now that we have this, we can see that we are close to this. It's a bit thicker and wider than what you designed, so we can always adapt the proportion. So if I want to make it a bit, yeah, because you see the one on the top, we don't need to see the hole. You can do that if you want, but we don't really need to see. And this way it's more stable like this, and it's gonna spin. Okay, that's good. What we can do, if you want to change the proportion, we could change the proportion of the original sketch. Right click, edit sketch, and here we can tell him, you know what, this is 7 centimeters. So you can see already change automatically all the proportion, and I'm good. Edit sketch. There is one thing I want to check here. It's maybe we want that line to be a bit higher. Actually, right now it's going to work as well. It's going to work and spin. Yeah, that's going to be good. And save. If you want, you can use fillet to soften the edge. Actually, we need to be careful because it's empty inside. So if we want to have a soft edge, right click, we need to do it from here. So if you want to do it from here, you can use fillet sketch, one fillet here. And if the first one is 10, then the outside one will be 13, because see you have 10, the 10 radius plus 3 millimeter of plastic wall and a foot. So here you can have it here. And if you want, you could just also decide that you just want the top to be a bit thicker, so you could directly. What I'm doing now, it's optional. It's just to show you that you can change your design at any time. This way, it's more plastic on the top. Sure. Okay. And if we do that, we could even tell him, you know what, I want the top of my plastic box to be a bit more like curved. So this way I can put objects on the top. So if you want to do that, here you look for comments. You write dome. And instead of having a dome that goes out, I'm asking for a dome that goes in. And then you can play with the shapes. Sure. Okay, it's telling me that you're eating too much plastic. Okay, so I'm gonna reduce the depth of the dome. And here you can see that you have kind of a space where you can put a bobbin and it's not gonna fall by itself. This is optional. I'm just adding you some, ideas of detailing. Now let's do the pins of the bobbins. So first I'm gonna do save. And we should have saved a long time ago. So save. Okay. Give it a name. Use your name is good to find your files later. Put it in a place where you can find it. Save. So now we're going back to the SolidWorks, looking at the part from font. This is font. Yes. If you're not sure, space on the keyboard. You see these windows. Click on the central cube. Now that you have this font, go to extrude. I'm gonna put a series of little circles. We're gonna do even better than that. I'm gonna first make a center line to be sure that we are in the middle. And I'm gonna place the first circle, and then we're gonna duplicate it instead of making a lot of circles. Okay, once again, circles from the center and another one. If I go back to your sketch, we check that the central diameter of the pin is 6. So let's put 5 So this way we'll have, again, the idea of tolerance between the lines. So here I'm telling him that I want this diameter to be 5. And I want the center to be at, let's put 33 centimeters from the bottom, because we know that the diameter of the bobbin outside is 2. So meaning that the bobbin is going to be something like this. So I'm just showing you the idea of how we can space things properly. This I'm going to ask for construction. This way, the circle that is in dashed line help me to visualize where my bobbin will be, but it's not part of my function. So this way I can tell him that this is 25 millimeters from the bottom. Now that we have this, we can duplicate this circle along that line, not to work, I mean, the idea is to work faster. So if I want to do this, I'm going to click on the circle. Here I'm looking for linear sketch pattern. He's asking me along which edge. I tell him I don't want X. So I can tell him I want along that line. Now it's going to go up. And here I need to tell him what is the space between the center of each shape. So here I can tell him 33 centimeters. In this area, I tell him how many copies I want. And you can see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bobbins that fit vertically. And that's it, we finished. So now that we've done that, I'll go to Features, Extrude. Here I will do something new. I'm not going to do blind, because if not, I will have a pin that crosses my whole product, and that's not what I want. What I'm going to do is, you see the area from, I will tell him not from the sketch plane, from a surface, this surface. And you can see that now the pins start directly from where I want. And how big are they supposed to do? How tall? Here it's written GOVA 9. So I can put them 10. That's enough. And if I want them to stuck on it, I could play with the conus shape. But let's put them. Even I could say that the pins are 12. This way they're a bit too big, so they will be really easy to place them and to take them out. Save. Now we want to duplicate this all around the box. Yes. So we're going to use a new function that's called circular pattern. In order to do that, we need first to have we place here. That's an axis that's going to be exactly in the center of the box. That's why we started working around the red dot on the sketches. So now that I did that, I'm going to look for the front plane and the right plane. Press Ctrl on the keyboard to make a selection of both front plane and right plane until both of them are blue. Now that you have that, you do go to reference, and you don't want plane, you want axis. And now you can see that it's adding you a line in the middle. Approve. Now what we're going to do, axis, you can click on the axis, go to circular pattern, and then we're going to tell him which function we want to duplicate, and click on one of the pins. Now you can see that he did it 2 times. So if you go around here, it's written equal spacing. Here we want 360. Maybe on your computer it's already going to be 360. And here I can tell him how many I want. I think 10 start to be nice. You can put more if you want, 12. And now we have this. And if you check with your original sketch, where you see the circle, you can see that it's not touching the others, as we're good. And technically, that's it. You're finished with that. So here, I'm going to put it transparent for a moment so you can see what's happening inside. So here, you have the outside box with pins where you can put your bobbins, and the internal part where it's going to stand on it. And we're good. Now, we're going to need to print them in separate files. So I'm going to do save. Right now, I just saved my files for work. I want also to save the file that will be ready for printing. Okay. So to do that, we need to save as, and I'm gonna tell him STL. But before we do that, we need to split the part to be sure that we have the stand and the box. So if I go to the left, it might appear like that on your computer. Click on the little arrow so you can open. You see solid bodies, two parts, the base and the top. So for now, click on one of them and do delete on the keyboard. Don't be afraid, that's a function. And click on one of them, delete on the keyboard and save. So now I have only the stand, and then I will do the same for the other one. So now that I have only this in the file, save as. Here I'm going to change it to STL, and I'm going to give it a name, V1 base. Options, and check that you are not too low in your STL. But one second, I did the STL. Options, and you're supposed to see this. Just be careful that you are not in coarse. You want to be in minimum around a third or a quarter of the, to be around this here. And okay, now that we have this, put it somewhere where you can find it. Again, approve, and we finish with the first file. Now let's go to the function that we had before, body delete, right click, edit feature, and instead of delete, choose skip. And now we have only the box. Save as, STL. Option, normally they didn't change. And here we just change the end of it, we say box. Issue. And that's it, we finish, we're ready for print. Now, if you watch other videos, you already know what I'm gonna say. Either you can use an account of one of your friends and you print together, or you need to go to Michal, pay 90 shekels, and this way you access to one creator you can print in the Fab Lab up to 1 kilo of plastic. Meaning you can print it in PLA, that is a hard plastic. You can print it in TPU, that is a soft plastic. For this kind of product, I recommend PLA. It's simple, it's hard plastic, it's gonna provide what you need, and it's gonna print faster. Yeah, according to the color, regarding the color of the plastic, you need to ask Itamar what he has in stock. And that's it, you can print your buttons and your box at the same time if you want them to be the same color. And from the moment you have your cheshbonit, your invoice from Michal, you take the invoice, you go to Itamar, he's gonna add you to a list of Excel file where he's gonna create an account for you. And every time you print, he's gonna tell you this is 100 grams, this is 25 grams, this is 12 grams. And then he's gonna go down from your total credit of 1 kilo until he will tell you that you have to renew the account. And that's it. Good luck. Okay. Now, regarding the button. So I'm going to close this. Save. You want to make a button that look like flowers or like petals that, duplicate themselves around the same base. Actually, the last function we use to duplicate the pins is exactly the same function you need for the petal. So I'm going to open a new file. Front plane, sketch, sketch. And I'm going to start to sketch the first one that you want. First, I'm going to put the center lines because we're going to use the function in the future that turns. So this way it's going to be easier for to spin it, to understand the movement of it. And here I can create the shape I want. So if you want to create a shape like this, you can. Now, what's important is to be sure that we are not making something huge. Right now, this is 7 centimeters. This, if your end size of the button is 3 centimeters, that should be 15 millimeters. And then now let's check the height of it as smart dimension. Point. Yeah, this is 5 millimeters, 6 millimeter height. It's good, more than enough. And I close my shape with a little line. Here you can sketch the shape you want. Just be careful not to make it too small. For example, this is 5 mm thick. It's good. It's a bit thick actually, but it's better to have something a bit thicker than to be not enough. Actually, that's not possible, what you just told me. No, voilà. This is 2 mm because if this 6, this cannot be 5. So this is 2 mm on 6. Don't do less than that in terms of thickness of plastic. Now that I finished, sure, I will tell him that I want to use this sketch, features, extrude. Here I want mid-plane, and that's the thickness you decide it's going to be. But if you want to spin it a few times, don't put something too thick at first, so 3 mm. Good. Now, this is the time where we can add details before we duplicate. So, if I want, I can put fillet of 2 mm. Yeah. Here, be sure that you're on full preview, tangent propagation, and you can see that you already did that side. That could be interesting. And let's see what happens if we do the same on the other side. Just on that side. So you can see that right now, I already have something that feels a bit natural. Now that I did this, I can ask, right-click, show. I want to see my original sketch. This way I don't have to create a central axis. Now I can click on that line, circular pattern, and I will tell him I want to duplicate that feature. Now he doesn't understand me because there is a feature on a feature. So don't use the feature function. You can go to bodies and tell him that you want to duplicate that body according to that line. You can see it doesn't give it to me. Okay, so if he doesn't give it, front plane, right plane, both of them are selected using control on the keyboard, reference geometry axis. Yes. Okay, now I do have an axis. So I do click on the axis, circular pattern, bodies, and this. And now you can start to look at that. It starts to look like what you have. And the game here is to choose how many you want to put. For example, 15 will give you that shape. And because of the shape that we created before, is giving us this kind of effect in the center. That could be interesting. Now you can decide either you want to use the space between the petals to stitch your button on your jacket, or you can add a base, and on that base you can add a little loop. I'm going to give you the two options. So for example, you could stop here and prepare the STL like we did before. Or we can go to the top plane, extrude. He's opening a sketch for us automatically. I look for the center, and I create a small circle. I don't want it to go outside the shape because then I would see it, so you can keep it small until here. For example, 1 centimeter is more than enough. Or you can put 12 mm if you want. Approve. And then we need to tell him in which direction we want to go. Mid-plane is usually adding material on both ways, so it's good. And we can ask him 5 mm, but don't do too much because you can see what happens. It starts to be shown on the other side. 4 mm is good. Yep. Yeah, if you don't want it to appear like this, right click, edit sketch, and then you can change your size until you don't see the yellow. For example, I remove 2, double click on the size, put 1 centimeter, approve, and now you can see that it's not going to be visible in there. Now that we have this base, we can click on that side just to see where we are. I'm doing long click on the get it on the little wheel of the mouse to zoom in, zoom out. I mean, play with the wheel to do zoom in, zoom out, and long click on the wheel to move your product on the screen. Now I'm going to look for a plane that is in the correct direction. For example, the front plane is good. It's cutting my product in 90 degrees. So at 90 degrees. So I could sketch on it. Extrude. And here I'm just going to add. Okay, first I want to be sure that I place my hook, my loop in the center line. Click on the center of the piece. just double check that you're vertical. You can see it here. And now you're going to place the center of your next circle on this, and then the other one, another circle on this. Now let's give some sizes. This I want it to be no less than 3 millimeter, and this one should be no less than 6. 3/6 is not enough because that means that I have only 1.5 millimeter here and 1.5. This way I have a 3, 1, 5, 1, 5 that give me 6. Here I want 8. This way I will have 2 millimeter, 2 millimeter. Actually, I could have 7. 7 is good. You're free. So now I want to play with the positions. It's slightly inside. And features. Either I can do extrude from here, or I can do issue. He's opening the pattern for me, the function for me. Here on the side, I'm going to ask for 3 millimeter. Nothing, no need for more. And that's it. We finish the button. Now, what I can do last is soften the edges on that loop. Save first. So I'm going to do like Rawan button. We should have saved before that. And fillet 1 millimeter. I'm gonna, if you click on this, you see it's trying to fillet everything. If you like it, then you finished. And that's it. It's possible that Itamar is gonna advise to cut the product around that line. This way you have 2 flat surfaces to print, and we can then glue them with a 3-second glue. For the 3D printing, it's the same. First, you save your working file, then you go to Save As, choose STL in the list of functions of format files available, and check the options that we are not too low. This is good. Okay, save. Save again. Yes, and yes. And that's it. We finish with a button. Good luck.